right, thank you, Jay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sohit Pare, and I'm the founder of Get to Know Me. I just want to start off by discussing kind of what I'm going to talk about and how we got to where we are today. We founded Get to Know Me at Startup Games in the fall of 2019. And in 2020, we pivoted to target therapists because of various reasons. And as research continued, we figured out within these last couple of weeks that there was not really a product market fit. So the problem initially, when we first founded uh, Get to Know Me in 2019, we wanted to help people seeking therapy for their mental health issues. We pivoted and we were talking to a lot of the student body that existed here when we first started because it was a startup games and it was on campus. So that's who we had access to most easily. A lot of the problems that we found were common amongst everyone that we interviewed. And initially, we had over 45 different client or patient interviews. And a lot of these problems ranged from reliving trauma when they were telling their therapist the issues that had happened to them, what they had gone through, and the fact that they felt like they weren't really cared for when they were first going into the therapist's office. They felt like they had a lot of talking and the therapist decided whether they were a good match or not. And then if they weren't a good match, the therapist said, all right, here's the next person you can go talk to. Have a good one. And then the patient just had to retell the story until they found the person they matched. Our solution to this problem was coming up with an online platform that sends out mood evaluation and journaling questions to patients and then shares that data with therapists, thereby allowing therapists to be more aware of the issues that their patient is facing before they ever walk into the office and how exactly they'd be able to help their patients with the skill set that they have in their repertoire. We added 30 more interviews throughout this summer to our pre-existing 45 interviews of patients, and they all address similar issues, but they also lacked preliminary information before seeking therapy, along with the fact that a lot of the patients that we did interview did not want to pay for a journaling app because patients that journaled already journaled, and those who went to therapy shared what they were comfortable with sharing with their therapist when they felt comfortable sharing it. So a lot of what we found with patients was like they don't want to pay for something that they're already doing. That caused us to pivot to therapists. And like I said already, patients didn't want to pay for the journaling app, and patients who already journaled shared what they were trying to tell them. Along with that, during our initial hypothesis, we thought that one of the biggest issues was the fact that patients and therapists had trouble trusting and building rapport within these first 1 to 4 sessions, which is when the patient is most likely to drop their therapist or vice versa. But once we started talking to therapists, the therapist told us that wasn't necessarily the case. Once rapport and trust had been built, patients outright told them that, hey, as a therapist, I trust you and I'm ready to go forth and address my goals and the issues that I have as a patient. So once we pivoted to therapists, we talked to around 50 different doctors within the field, from new graduates to veterans within psychotherapy and everywhere in between. And some of the realizations we had was the fact that psychotherapy is a much broader and varied field than we'd initially realized. And this is because as we know a regular doctor, we go in, we tell them this is the problem. They say, okay, either you need to go see a specialist or here's the medication, take it during these hours or at these times and you'll be okay. But with a therapist, it's not that easy. It's you going in and finding another person which can help you work through your issues. It's not a one stop fix all your ailments kind of thing. It's somewhere where two people have a process that they go through, and it takes work to get to the root of the patient's issue. And each of the therapists that we had talked to had already had an efficient process for their size practice and their specialty, which allowed them to bring in patients at their own rate, especially because as we look at the entire market right now, there's way more patients than there are therapists. And finding that match has been easier for therapists than it has been for patients. And that research had led us to the realization that there was not really a product market fit within the market that we were trying to test in. Because, as I've said, the patients already trust their therapists and they kind of know what their issues are once they're going in. They just don't want to retell their stories. But therapists don't really have an issue of finding clients because there's way more patients than there are therapists. A lot of the insights that I gained throughout this accelerator is the fact that we need more research overall with the issues that the clients face or the patients face, as well as the therapists face, because the entire time I was trying to ask the right questions, it felt like I was looking through a keyhole trying to identify the problem, especially because a lot of the information that I was looking for is protected by HIPAA laws that keep patient information from being released. And this also came as a major roadblock because a lot of the specifics that I needed was not being shared by doctors, right? Along with that, therapy is really wide in its specialties. It has a range of different things that it can do, as well as a certain therapist has demographics with which they work better. So, for example, I talked to this recent graduate who was a female, and she said her best demographic, as in the people she can help most, were males from the ages of 20 to 55. And this is through her own working with this market and within her industry. So she knew exactly what was working for her already. And one of the biggest key things was as we went to these therapists with our solution, none of them were excited about what we were bringing to them. All of them gave us alternates that already existed in the field already, or they just pointed us to their own process and were talking about the inefficiencies within that. But nothing validated our original hypothesis or our solution. Now, the insights that I gained about being an entrepreneur overall was the fact that this summer and taking on this entire accelerator basically showed me the barriers that are in place to enter into being an entrepreneur and to enter into having a successful business and, you know, going past the first 3 years, which are, you know, notoriously hard to get through for entrepreneurs. And along with that, this accelerator also allowed me to connect to a variety of really different and driven entrepreneurs that all have fantastic social ideas and are doing really good work. And with that, this is my contact information. And I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me. And let me know if you have any more questions. Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
Hey, I got a question. I joined like 5 minutes late, so I probably missed like most of the important stuff. But what is the is it an app that
Yeah,
you're doing?
would be an app. Yep.
Okay, and because my mom's a psychotherapist, so I'm like super interested in this. And so like, what are you looking to get?
Well, what we were trying to do is have it so that we'd send out mood evaluation and journaling questions to therapists or to patients, and then sharing that information with therapists so that it would make the intake process easier and the therapist would have a better understanding of the patient that they were intaking and the issues that ailed them.
Perfect. I'll reach out to you through email or phone because yeah, I think my mom would be super interested in this because this is like right up her alley. So,
Yeah,
all right,
awesome.
cool.
Thank
Thanks.
This is Greg, and I know it's disappointing to you, but I would call your journey with this project an unqualified success. This is really what and the Student Accelerator is all about. It's what the Business Model Canvas is all about. It's about determining whether or not there is product market fit before you try to release the solution into the marketplace. I didn't realize how many people you had contacted. Your start with the students, your pivot to the analysts, and this is what should happen to a certain number of people that go through this program. So hopefully what you got out of this, well, first of all, it's really clear that you took away, as I like to say, you respected the curriculum. And so hopefully you have learned some skills and techniques to evaluate your next venture. So I know it's disappointing right now, but this to me, someone who's been doing this a long time, this is a success. Not the success you wanted, but it is a success. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Greg.
This is Kim, and I'd like to echo a little bit of what Greg said. My first exposure to the Business Model Canvas was when I was working with a startup. I was all excited. Many of you maybe have already heard this story. We were ready to invest money, and going through venture school, at the end of it, I learned something similar to what you did, a little bit different. So now I say, well, that saved me 2 years of my life and about $200,000. And so, because, we were ready to write a check. So congratulations, on what you learned. I do have a question though. In your interviews, let's see, did you discover anything that might be a new hypothesis or a new opportunity in that market?
Well, see, that's the thing. Since it's so varied, right? There are a lot of opportunities. It's just being able to hone in on that one is what's been so tricky. As I mentioned a couple times before, finding the right therapist is like dating, right? And I kind of want to expand a little bit more on that kind of seed of an idea and do more research on that, because I do believe there's something there. It's just, I don't think there was enough time for me to continue exploring that option within this accelerator. But yes, I do wish to continue doing more research in this field, because I think there are processes that can be made more efficient.
Great, thanks for sharing that. And one other thing, with telemedicine, I think we're just going to see all kinds of opportunities. So who knows how that might fit. So good work.
Thank you.
Hey, so this is David, and I'm Sohit's direct coach, and I also want to echo and commend you on your work. A lot of the other coaches didn't get to have the conversations with you that I have, and your use of customer discovery was really strong, and your evolution in your questions and just sort of your entrepreneurial thinking is also improved drastically. So I just want to recognize that, right? You don't have a business at this time, but you've made incredible progress over the summer, and you didn't list here on your final slide that you have. What do you have as your degree that you're seeking?
Yes, I have a psychology and enterprise leadership double major, but yeah, that's the reason I started off with this project in the first place, is because I have a psychology, getting a psychology degree. Yeah,
and I believe, if you don't mind me saying, I believe that you're potentially going to grad school and pursue in this field.
Yep.
So you never know, this idea may pick up, you may find something related to it in the not so distant future. So if there's one one thing about the customer discovery process that you can pinpoint that was especially insightful? What do you think that might be for you, Sohit?
For me personally, it was I'd say like around my 47th or 48th interview, right? And this was with that female that I had just described to you, who said she was more so strongly suited with that. She talked about how she works for a university entity and how she, as a therapist, um, basically gives over the rights to match her with a client to a third party. And that was super intriguing because for me, it would only make sense that a therapist is more hands on involved with their client. But she said, I didn't have anything to do with the people I see. That gets given to another company. That company sends out these mood evaluation and journaling questions and then matches up whichever therapist has the degree and the specialty necessary to help the person with those certain problems. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of like exactly what I want to do. But this is interesting because it's being done in a much more efficient manner than I could have ever realized. So yeah, I don't know, it kind of ripped the veil of naivete from my eyes in a way because I was able to see the fact that something that I guess the Entrepreneurial Center has been echoing, you're not the first person to work on this idea and you won't be the last. It's just, you have to continue working. And yeah, I think that interview is probably the most impactful because that's around when I realized like, okay, I came into this gung-ho like a cowboy thinking I knew what I was doing. But yeah, basically I've been quickly humbled by the market. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story today with us.
Thank you.
Hey, if I can cut in here, like from what you just said, I know the person who talked to you was like part of the university, but I know that the private sector people, like they like the apps and companies that are out there like matching and doing like the paperwork and all that stuff is super frustrating for the private sector. Like even just like if you just look at like Psychology Today, like their listings have nothing to do with what like what the psychologist does, because like my mom focuses on like GLBT and PTSD, and the ad, quote unquote, that they made for her like doesn't mention that at all, and like it's not anything like what she does, but she can't change it because they do the same thing for everybody. So pardon me, I think looking at like the private sector and seeing what frustrations there are there, you could build on what you're looking at. I know this was like, part of like the accelerator and things like that, but if you wanted to take this further, you could go with, like talking to more private sector people.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
So, but yeah, like I said, I'll reach out to you and maybe we can figure something out. And so.
Yeah, I would echo that and say that it might be interesting to look at all of the different styles of profiles that professionals have that range from a really cookie cutter Psychology Today listing where they don't have very many fields that they can add, to certain practices that will go into a lot of detail about the specialties and types of research that the individual does. When you said the word dating app, that made me think, what if there was a company that helped therapists have a really robust profile that had robust searchability and matchability? Because we recently moved and I was trying to find someone for my daughter, and I saw such a range of mostly useless profile information. And it was really hard to tell who was a match, and even down to the portraits of the right. So maybe some opportunity there.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's really interesting that people are bringing this up, because that was an idea that you had thought about, but given the time of the accelerator, you're like, well, I'm gonna have to shelve that idea.
Yeah.
because it's an entirely different sort of discovery process, in that area.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone for suggesting that to Sohit.
Any other questions?
I just want to take this opportunity to kind of thank Jay as well as Liz for like just organizing all of this for the entire summer and yeah, kind of like putting all of this together because this is really good practice. Like, I don't think it can be understated how helpful this has been in terms of like helping me prepare, the confidence, seeing all my peers go, and then, me myself finally doing it. Yeah, it's because I've been following 1 Million Cups since last year. And yeah, just watching you guys grow, the amount of people we've attracted, it's just really cool to watch. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for putting it all together.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's been fun to see all of your presentations this summer. I always love this part of the year.
I do too. Always wish we could have had this in person, but that's one thing you learn about entrepreneurship that I'm sure you've learned over the course of this summer, that you just kind of have to roll with the punches sometimes, and sometimes you're dealt a hand of cards that's not the best, but you make do with what you have. So, are there any other questions before I ask our traditional final question? Not hearing anything, so kind of modified just because the situation's a little bit different. But what can we do as a community to help you, even though it sounds like you're shifting away from what you've been working on or shutting it down or pausing? What can we do as a community to help you as an entrepreneur?
Just reach out and talk to me a little bit. It'd be great if we all got to know each other. Going by my company's name, get to know me. Yeah, I did really good research with therapists, psychologists, and students this summer. So if you have any questions about what it is I asked them, what I talked to them about, more insights I learned from them, or if you guys potentially have anyone that I could connect you to, yeah, just let me know and I'd be more than happy to help.
Very